You are listening to Kyo Conversations, a podcast about anything and everything that matters to Chi Omegas.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Herington, CEO for Chi Omega, and we are joined today by Dr. Shaniece Criss, a health science faculty member at Furman University, who is strongly engaged in addressing health equality and health communication in her community. Dr. Criss is also a founding member of the Big Data for Health Equity Research Collaborative and works with university researchers from across the country to investigate how societal issues impact health. She is a fellow of Riley Institute's Diversity Leaders Initiative, SHI Institute for Sustainable Communities, Shucker Leadership Institute, and an elected official of Travelers Rest City Council. Dr. Criss serves on several boards and committees, all dedicated to causes related to diversity, health, and women. Dr. Criss earned her doctorate from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and her master's of public administration from Harvard Kennedy School of Government, where she was awarded a Presidential Public Service Fellowship. She also has a master's of public health from Emory University and an undergraduate degree in communication from Oglethorpe University, where she was initiated into the Delta Theta chapter of Chi Omega. Dr. Criss lives in Greenville, South Carolina, with her husband, Demond, and daughter, Sage. Well, Dr. Criss, you sure have been busy. Listen to that resume, sister.
It has been a journey, and I've been very blessed.
You really have. And we are so honored to have you with us today. Would you mind at all if I called you Sister Shaniece for the purposes of this sisterly podcast?
Of course. Please.
Well, let's do that. Let's start with your Chi Omega story, Shaniece. Tell me, how did you become interested in Oglethorpe University? And most importantly, what made you interested in Chi Omega?
It's so interesting you asked that, because the very person that was at Oglethorpe, her name is Ann Sue. She was in school in Greenville, and then she went to Oglethorpe. And I said, if Ann's going to Oglethorpe, then I need to look at Oglethorpe. And she actually ended up being my big sister in Chi Omega at Oglethorpe. So that's really funny. And when I was deciding if I was going to go through recruitment or not, I wasn't thinking about it, actually. And I was running for freshman class president. And one of my friends said, Shaniece, you can meet a lot of people through recruitment. And I was like, okay, I love meeting new people. And when I went through the process, I was like, oh my goodness, I really like this. I actually called my parents. I said, what do you think about this, me joining this sorority? And they're like, you only live life once. So if you want to do it, go for it. And so I did.
Well, if you had to pick, it sounds like that was a really good time, recruitment, even leading up to being a member of Chi Omega. What was your favorite Delta Theta memory?
My favorite Delta Theta memory is that every time we were at a party, we had to play the song, I Will Survive. And then at the end of the song, we would do the most, the loudest chant you could ever imagine. And we did that at every place we went to. And that is such a fun memory. And I remember my husband and I had our first date at a Chi Omega function. And that song came on, and then we did that chant. He was like, what's going on?
Sounds like you guys were rocking out. When it comes on the radio now, how does it make you feel?
So excited. Just really warm memories of that time.
I bet so. Now, you have numerous degrees that we ran through, and you've worked long and hard for those. Have you always been interested in health science, since you were a little girl, or was that something along the way that inspired you?
Oh, good question. So when I was younger, I had childhood asthma, so I went to the doctor all the time. So in elementary school, I thought I wanted to be a pulmonary pediatric specialist because I just learned so much from my pediatricians and how they were helping me. Then as I got older, I really was interested in communication. So went to Oglethorpe for communications. And literally, I was trying to make a decision if I was going to go to Hollywood and be an actress or continue in grad school. And I actually went to Hollywood, got a manager, and realized that that's not what I wanted at that moment. And so I came back, I looked at all the schools at Emory, And that's when I saw public health. That was the first time. And I said, this is what I love and this is what I want to do. So literally just searching websites, I found one of my passions and what I love.
I mean, that just goes to show that Google works, right? If you need
Yes.
it, Google can work. Now, let me just rewind because I'm not going to let you get away with that whole Hollywood story without telling us more about that. I also happen to know that a fun fact about you is that you even starred or played a part in a play pretty recently, Midsummer Night's Dream.
That's right. So I still love acting. I went to a high school for the arts for theater and classical voice. So I also sang opera. And so I've always been attracted to that. And even when I was living in Atlanta, I did get an agent in Atlanta. I did commercials, I did different videos. It was really exciting. And something that I would love to do now is be a media correspondent focused on public health on television shows. So that's what I'm working on. And in fact, I just started an Instagram account called Dr. Shaniece at Shaniece Criss on Instagram. And I highlight public health facts in a fun, enjoyable, entertaining way every day. So that's something I still love.
Well, you know what? I don't think your Hollywood dreams are out of scope. I mean, I think they are within reach and you just might end up there. And I can't wait to follow your Instagram account. That
Thank you
sounds
so
really
much.
exciting. Yeah, we all will.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Well, we also loved your article that was featured in our fall 21 issue of the Elusis. You were talking about mental health and time proven healthy habits for collegians. So, bouncing off that, what would you say is like the very best way we can be supportive to sisters and others around us that might be struggling with depression on campus?
Okay, depression is very prevalent. It's something that happens all the time. One thing that's important is that we just listen to people. We may not understand exactly what's going on, but the experience they're having is very real and just being supportive. I also think that it's important to make sure that you take care of your individual needs. So some things that sometimes can have people going into a depressive episode is just stress or feeling like overwhelmed with the world. So I think one thing that people overlook that's very important is sleep. And I know we're talking about in college, but yes, you still need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And what happens is that college students overcommit. And you know, I was guilty of that too. My freshman year at Oglethorpe, I was in 14 organizations, but I learned quickly
14.
that I had to 14. But I learned quickly that I had to let some of those go. And so people think that it's common to have all-nighters. That's not a good habit to have. So just saying no to things that you don't need to. I like to say there's different seasons for different things. So maybe freshman year, you have one focus for extracurriculars. Then sophomore, you can do something different. So sleep is very important and not overcommitting. The last thing I'll say about this is that really encourage people to go see the counselor on campus.
Yes.
When I was a senior at Oglethorpe, 9/11 happened. And I just went into a deep depression. And I'm normally so optimistic and bubbly and positive. But going to see the counselor on the college campus helped me tremendously because she didn't have any expectations of me. My friends saw me a certain way, someone who has it all together. But there I could just be free and explore my emotions and my thoughts. And that was so helpful. So I would encourage everyone to take advantage of the counselors on college campuses.
Excellent advice. Sleep and taking advantage of usually the free service of counselors on your college campus. That's right. A no-brainer. But yet when we get too busy, of course, we don't think of it. So it's good to remind our students about that.
Some people think it's a stigma to getting counseling. So even though it may be something they want to do, they feel like they don't have the freedom to do so. But counseling is something that everybody in their lifetime should experience. So I just want people to let any stigma associated with it to just melt away.
Thank you. It should be like the dentist, right? Everybody goes to the dentist. Everybody needs to go to their counselor. It should just be worked into every annual checkup, right? Make sure that you're seeing
Yes.
those counselors. Aside from over programming ourselves and maybe not getting too much sleep with those all-nighters, what are some other toxic habits you see on college campuses today, and how can our sisters avoid them?
I always like to go back to the basics again. Think about what we fuel our body with. And so making sure we get enough fruits and enough vegetables, very important, protein, healthy fats, making sure we get all the nutrients we need, and also taking time to go for walks around campus or a Zumba class, dancing. You got to keep physically active because I know on campus you can get so inundated with work that you're like, oh, I just don't have time to do that. But even if it's 15 minutes, it's going to lift your mood and it's going to make you feel better mentally and physically. So I like to focus on that as an aspect. So actually, this is something that got me started into public health. I had someone I knew who had a sexually transmitted disease, and she didn't know how she got it. And I thought everybody should know about their bodies, how it works, how to stay protected. So I like people to think about the quality of their relationships first, and then we'll get to STDs. So I have this activity that I do with my public health students. We take a song from the top Billboard list, and I have my students listen to it. And most songs are about love. And I say, okay, is this song like demonstrating a healthy relationship or an unhealthy relationship, and why? Most of the songs are unhealthy relationships. What this tool that I'm using is called media literacy. So using popular culture to talk about something in people's lives. Then as we talk about, okay, relationships should be mutual respect. Relationships should not be based upon sex only. Relationships should be cheering each other on. And so I tell them, okay, next time you're with your significant other, ask them to pick a song that they think represents your relationship. And then I want you to analyze the song to see if it really is healthy. Oh, and then I was just going to say the second thing with STDs, STIs, is that what I really like students to know is that many of them are asymptomatic, meaning you don't have any symptoms. But the issue is later on, if you decide you want to have children, it can lead to infertility. So it's important that you get regularly checked for STDs and you use proper protection. So that's just something I like to share with people as well.
More good advice. I feel like, even somebody like you with tremendous accomplishments under your belt, you probably have down days every now and then. When that happens to you, how do you personally cope? How do you de-stress?
Okay, how do I de-stress? You're right. I do have down days sometimes. And for me, I like to try to put things in proper perspective. So I definitely pray about things. I listen to uplifting music. I'll listen to uplifting podcast or a sermon. And I talk to people who can be supportive of me. All of us know when you call somebody what type of feedback or advice or insight they give you. I make sure that I talk to people who are uplifting. And so those are the things that help me when I am having a down day. And then just in general, I love dancing. My favorite activity is walking and talking. So being with a friend and walking around and talking is my favorite. And last, I have a treadmill desk at my work. And so you could tell this theme of walking. And so I do my work. I'm walking on my treadmill slow, like 1.7 miles per hour, because I do not want to fall off. And it allows me to keep typing. And I feel doubly productive because I'm doing work and I'm having movement.
Well, talk about multitasking. I mean, that's the best kind right there.
Yes.
Well, you are also multitasking as a mom to, I hope, a future Chi Omega, little Sage, who's 9 years old. If you could predict the future for her, What does that experience in Chi Omega hopefully look like for her? And how can we do our best to welcome her and make her feel like Chi Omega is her forever home?
Oh, that's beautiful. What I think would be important when I think of my daughter joining is that it's welcoming, that people are authentic, they're being their full selves, and they can really appreciate other people's uniqueness. That I see so much people with different interests, different backgrounds, different cultures, and that all these women are focused on being the best person that they can be, staying focused on their academics and future careers, but also making sure they're living their full lives as their full self.
Well, that's beautiful too. What does it mean to you every day to know you're part of the largest women's organization, fraternal organization in the world, and among such a strong network of women, Chi Omega?
It's a beautiful thing, and I also find it very inspiring. So when I look out and I read the magazine or I see people on social media, it's nice to see that we're making an impact all over the world. And then in my personal chapter with Oglethorpe, just seeing what these women are doing, so many different careers, beautiful families, moving everywhere and trying new things. So it's just very, it feels very supportive, feels very inspiring.
I'm so glad. How do you think your life would have been different had you not joined Chi Omega?
I know without a doubt that I have met people and grown closer to people that I would not have known as well unless I had done Chi Omega. It also gave me a peek into a world I literally had no idea about. And it was fun, like with my social life, to have that aspect and with the service that we did. And so it's something that was definitely a beneficial part of my life.
Well, tell me, as we wrap up here, what is it that you might like, either a funny story or an anecdote or even another piece of advice for all of the Chi Omegas listening today to know?
Funny story versus anecdote, so different, but or piece of advice. Okay, I'll do a funny story, then a piece of advice, if that's okay.
Yes.
One thing, a funny story, and this demonstrates the importance of having sisters that have your back. I was at a college party, and I made the unfortunate wardrobe choice to wear pleather pants. I like to call it leather's wacky cousin, that when you sweat, literally suctions to your body. So I did a certain dance move, and my pants split open right at the bottom part. And I had two Chi Omega sisters right there immediately help cover me and take me to my car. So
you guys just danced off, like covering Shaniece.
That's right. So I guess that leads to my piece of advice. Always look around to see who needs help, and then think about how you can help them and make their life better.
Well, they sure made your life better that night. But even in more significant circumstances, people that need help are always around us, I think. So, Sister Shaniece, I have just loved sharing time with you today and hearing all of your healthier habit advice and how we can be better citizens and sisters on campus. I, for one, am going to take better care of myself. In fact, I'm going to go take a nap after this because you told me I needed to. You taught me that I needed to kind of recharge and be kind to myself. So I feel like the rest of the afternoon I shall take a nap.
Wonderful. Treat yourself.
All right. And thanks, everyone, for listening today. And stay tuned for more Chi O conversations coming your way. Also, if you know any rock star Chi Omegas like Sister Shaniece, or even others in your community who might have an interesting perspective and make a great podcast guest, please let us know by emailing us at chiomega@chiomega.com. And as always, keep an eye on Chi Omega's social media channels so you can be sure to join us next time.